want to take a look at the Dartfish Zone Tool in this video. Now, I've covered the basics of this before and I've written a blog post about it, but this is one really neat workaround if you want to analyse the teams playing obviously in different directions, which is going to happen. You're going to play one direction in one half and the other direction in the other half. But when it comes to visualising that information, you have to find ways around that, or ways to visualise it as if it all happened into one goal or in one direction. That's an easier way to do that. And it's quite easy to do once you know how in Dartfish. So I'm just going to quickly set up a panel. I'm going to set up a blank panel. Just for now, it's just going to be one button. So we'll add in shot and make sure it has a category of event. Okay, and we're going to use the zone tool. So again, I'm going to drag and drop it. And Dartfish uses this blank soccer pitch, but we're going to change that. So I'm going to double click again on image and browse. And if I go to my pictures, I should have an image here that I want to use. So this is the one that I would like to use. So you see that it's cropped to the edge, which is important when you're tagging the information. So next I'm going to set up my zone. So you can see here field width. So I want this to be 100 by 100. Now you can have it any dimensions that you want. It really doesn't matter. Just as long as you're consistent, obviously, from game to game, but it really doesn't matter. And you can see the category is set up as field position by default, which is exactly what I want. So we'll close out of this, and I will just save that as a test panel. And I get back to my event. So I have my game file loaded here. I click shot, it tags a shot, and then I click where it happened. So let's just say it's the top of the D, and we get 8151. So that means it's 81 zones this way by 51 zones from top to bottom, which is exactly what I want. The difficulty then is the second half comes along, I press shot, and the event happens here. And now it's 2050. So even though the event has happened in more or less the same location, when I go to visualize this, I'll get one dot down here and one dot down here, which isn't really what I want. I want them both to be at the same end. Now, you can do things like imagine. So even though the shot happened here, you reverse it to here and you get more or less the same coordinate. But the difficulty is when something happens, away from the lines, that's a lot more difficult to do. So if you're trying to tag something that's happened over here and then try and mirror it over here, it gets very messy. So we need to find a better way to do that. And luckily there is. So I'll go back in to edit my panel. What I normally do to deal with the pitch is I'll set up a tab group box, and here we'll call it left to right. So that's when we're playing from this goal to this goal. And as well, what I can do is, rather than have to recreate all the settings, if I hold Control on my keyboard, I can drag and drop that and it'll make a duplicate of that button. Okay, so I have my left to right all set up, which is perfect. I'm going to add another tab in here and call it right to left. So this is now when we're going the opposite direction. And let's put this pitch in here. Okay, so this time without holding down Control, it just drags and drops the pitch into that tab. So now we want to reverse this. We want to basically create a mirror image. So to do that, I just make this a negative, and then I also make the field center a negative of exactly the same coordinates. Now the coordinates don't matter here. It doesn't matter if you use 100 or 1000 or 242. It doesn't really make a difference as long as you're consistent across both images. Okay, so both zone tools have the same coordinates. The opposite direction, so in this case the right to left, just needs the negative setup. Okay, but again I'm happy with that, so I'm going to close out of that and click save. So you'll see the issue in the first half is events down here get tagged with the opposite direction. Okay, now what we want to do is try and avoid that. So to show you an example, so we click shot. Again, we look at the top of the D, it's 8151, and now in the second half what we do is make sure we're using the right to left pitch. Okay, so we just change this tab when the half changes. So now I have a shot, and again it's the top of the D, and I get 8150 or 51. Close enough, okay, in terms of what I'm looking at. And I haven't had to pretend it's this end or pretend it's that end. All I've had to do is, when the half has come along, is to make sure that you change over. Okay, you change over what this does. So that's it. That's a quick look at the Dartfish Zone Tool and how you account for playing in different directions.